And here is the Writer's Almanac for Friday, August 23rd, 2019. It's the birthday of the man who said, "Intelligence is the capacity to know what we are doing, and instinct is just instinct. The results are about the same." The humorist Will Cuppy, born Auburn, Indiana, 1884, graduate student, University of Chicago, dropped out, moved to New York City, wrote advertising copy. The city was too much for him, so he moved to Jones Beach Island off the south shore of Long Island, and for 8 years he lived in a shack made of tar paper and clabbered in tin, then moved back to Manhattan and published a book, How to Be a Hermit, which was a bestseller in 1929, in which Will Cuppy wrote, "A hermit is simply a person to whom civilization has failed to adjust itself." He was a busy, productive writer in New York, wrote for The New Yorker, wrote for the New York Herald Tribune, wrote books like How to Tell Your Friends from the Apes. As he got older, he became more and more isolated, more depressed. His health deteriorated. In 1949, he committed suicide, and the following year, his book, The Decline and Fall of Practically Everybody, was published posthumously and was a big bestseller. It's the birthday of the author of the Spoon River Anthology, 1915, in which more than 200 dead citizens of the fictional town of Spoon River tell about their lives. Edgar Lee Masters, born in Garnett, Kansas, 1868, grew up on his grandparents' farm near Petersburg, Illinois. He was a lawyer in Chicago. He shared a law practice with Clarence Darrow, but his dream was to be a poet. And Spoon River Anthology sold so well in 1915, he was able to give up law and devote himself to writing. And it was on this day, 1305, that the Scottish rebel William Wallace was executed by the English in London, convicted of treason for his role in the Wars of Scottish Independence, which were brought on after the Scottish king Alexander died. The throne passed to his young granddaughter, Margaret, who drowned, and then the King of England, Edward I, seized the throne for himself. It's the birthday of the poet who wrote the famous poem Invictus back in 1875, the poem that begins, "Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul." The poem that ends, "It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll, I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul." The poet was William Ernest Henley, born Gloucester, England, in 1849. He was sick with tuberculosis, and when he was 25, spent time in the hospital in Edinburgh, wrote rather bitter poems there, which were published in Cornhill magazine, a magazine that also printed work by Robert Louis Stevenson, and the two writers became good friends. Robert Louis Stevenson modeled his character Long John Silver in Treasure Island after Henley had his leg amputated at the knee. Here's a poem by Barbara Lydecker Crane entitled Conjuring a Son. Mom asks, "How's your son?" each time I visit now, though I've never had one. She asks it loudly, sweetly crinkling eyes, as if she knows I'll proudly tell his latest news. Timmy learned to stand today. Tim can tie his shoes. Or should he be Hugh? He'll have dinner with you, Mom, soon as soccer's through. A bike, a moped, he grew before we knew it. He's thinking pre-med. Now I see him, Nick. He's shy, tall, wry, and enwrapped with geriatrics. He's up for a Nobel, Mom, every day. Nick's at work. He's wishing you well. Conjuring a Son by Barbara Lydecker Crane from her collection Zero Gravitas, published by White Violet Press and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.